Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced Coder from my name is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com. And this is going to be the first in a series of videos of learning how to use PHP and Laravel. So if you haven't watched sort of my video series on the basics of PHP syntax and whatnot, it's literally all in two videos. Check those out first, so that way you have a little bit of know-how on PHP, and then come back to this. But once you do that, if you want to start setting up your PHP environment, first thing you want to download is XAMPP. Okay, so let me go open that up over here. And what XAMPP does is it runs a PHP server, so you can run different servers. So right now I'm running the MySQL server and I'm running the Apache web server. And that way you can have an environment that's interpreting PHP code on your computer. Now by default, it is going to run it, only pick up on code in a particular folder. So if you want to change that, you're going to click on configure, and you're going to open the conf file. This sort of configures Apache. And the main thing you're going to want to edit, just so you see it, there's a lot of things here, so be very careful around here. Don't be just playing around with everything. You're going to want to go to here, document root. Okay, and then you're just going to change that to the folder you want to be where all your PHP stuff is going to be. So that way you're not having to go hunt around deep into your root. I'm on Linux, so I'd have to kind of go into my root directory in order to create PHP documents. So I just made a much easier to access folder. Okay, so that would configure that. And again, you want MySQL database running because we're going to make use of it. And you can start and stop that as you need it. So I'm just going to close that for now. The other thing you're going to need is you're going to need to download Composure. So if you don't have Composure, now what Composure is, it's a package manager for PHP similar to Node.js for Node.js. So if you're here, this is the Laravel documentation. So you're going to want to make sure that you go over there, download Composure, install the CLI, so you can just literally follow the Laravel.com installation instructions here. It is not too bad. It actually has a very similar feel to Node.js, where you have sort of your JSON file that has all your dependencies, all that good stuff. So we're going to create, and then you can create a new project with this command. So let's do that now. So I have it queued up to my PHP folder, and we're going to do Laravel new. We're just going to make a quick sort of listing app where you just make a list and it'll render that list. It's just to show how this works. So we'll call it render Laravel new list app. It's going to start crafting the application. Okay, and keep in mind, if you run into a lot of errors while running a lot of the Laravel commands, a lot of it probably is going to have to do with certain dependencies you need to install, and on top of that, as well as permissions in the folders. So don't get too frustrated if you run into some errors. They're for the most part quick fixes based on, and I'll go through many of those as we go through here, so that way you avoid many of those pitfalls. But that's going to install. Cool. Okay. It does have its, you could actually technically just serve it using this, and it sets up a server for you if you don't want to install XAMPP. But I'm not just using Laravel. I do a lot of other PHP stuff, so it doesn't hurt to have the XAMPP environment in the SQL database. I kind of all queued up, but it does have its own ability to act as a server built into Laravel, so you don't have to worry about that. Cool. Let's see how that's doing. Okay, application is built. Now we're going to want a database to use for this. So if you're running XAMPP and you have all that set up, okay, what you're going to want to do is actually, let's just create a whole new tab. We're going to want to go to http/localhost, because again, XAMPP is running Apache, so it's running as a web server. So you don't need to specify a port. It's going to by default run on port 80. So actually, I don't even need the www. It's just localhost / my PHP myadmin. Okay. And then here we can create a new MySQL database in our local environment. Oh, I typed in the wrong URL. Let's try that again. http/localhost / see here. This should work. PHP myadmin. And there we are, PHP myadmin. So then you'll go over here to databases. And it's being slow. There we go. And just create a new database. So we'll call this list app. Will be the name of the database. Create. And the database is created. And then we're going to want to go, actually, we're going to open up a different folder. Let me just close out all this. This is a different Laravel project. Close. Okay, and then we have list app here. And what I'm going to want to do is take a look in the .env file. This is going to have all our environment variables that we're going to want to change. So the app name you can change to whatever. We'll just call this list app. And this is just the secret key for like login. You can generate new ones. It's all in the documentation. Again, this is just a throwaway application, so I'm not worried about anyone seeing any of these details. But here's the database name, and then what we just call that? Oh, here, list app. Okay, so we'll just call that list app. Okay, save, and then that's saved. Cool. So now let's explore what you have here in your Laravel folder. So you're gonna have several folders. Okay. This vendor folder has all your dependencies basically, and kind of like how in your Node environment you have a package JSON, which is in here because there are going to be some usage of Node in here. You could just run like node install and it would install all this stuff. Same thing for Composure. So here's like the equivalent for PHP Composure. It lists all your dependencies, and then if you were to run like Composure install, it would just install everything in this. I think it's done that by default this time. I had a little permissions issue last time, but this time it seemed to install just fine. Okay. Now, this folder routes, this is where you're going to run all your routing. So basically find like where different routes go. Most of your work will be done in this one. There's like a different folder for different setups. But like, just so you can see, it's like route. This is a get route. This is the root get route. And then this is what it does. It just returns the word welcome. Cool. Actually, let me go back and look at that. Actually, it doesn't return the word welcome. So see how it says view? That means it's returning a view that goes by the name of welcome. So to understand where that's going to send us, we need to go find our view folder, which is right here. So under resources, we see views, and see that's welcome.blade.php. So that's where it's going to send you by default. So I can create a file, you know, whatever .blade.php, and I can just send people to that view file. But PHP does have, like, I mean, Laravel has the ability to scaffold a React or Vue page. So basically it'll build out all the boilerplate so you don't have to worry about authentication, Vue, or React and getting it all set up. So if we go back to the documentation over here, okay, back to front end. So you can see front end scaffolding. Here are all the commands you type into the CLI, so that way you can build out the React boilerplate or Vue boilerplate, and then just basically create the front end of your app using React or Vue if that's what you prefer, instead of just using pure server-side rendering with Blade. So that's there, and then that'll build out some of the assets that are there. Okay, other important. Here's your database stuff. So basically later on, we'll be building out our models. So essentially what's going to happen here is you're going to create migration files. Let's see here. And this will define, so basically what you do is you just create one of these migration files. It would define the schema for what's going to be in your database, and then you'll run it. You'll do a migration, and it'll be in your database. Factories is so that way you can generate like fake data to get started. And then if you wanted to seed your database with a bunch of data, there's that. And then how to use those will be in the documentation. We will build out a schema and do that later on. Now, if you're not using your .env here, okay, it does have a config folder here, which allows you to configure a lot of those same variables. Seeing if there's anything else that's important here. This isn't. This kind of just does its own thing. You don't have to touch that. Storage. Is anything here? Logs. Framework. Yeah, no. Basically, you just this are your routes. Okay, your controllers are going to be here. Your models will be in database, so you'll manage all your database models there, and your views are going to be in here in the resources folder. And then basically, like any MVC framework, you do that and you build out your application. It's actually pretty straightforward. It really kind of organizes working with PHP, because if you're just working with like straight PHP, it can sometimes seem a little disorganized to interact with databases and do all that stuff. Even though you can literally just do all of it out of plain vanilla PHP, because it has all that built in, which is cool. But this definitely makes the whole process a little bit more organized, and you can kind of see where you're going towards. And the scaffolding for JavaScript frontends is pretty nice. So we'll go over that some more in the upcoming videos. Just want to kind of give you guys a tour of how the project looks to start out with. And you guys have a good one. I'll see you guys later on. And I think for this project, will we use either one? I mean, you can use other frameworks. So I could build out whatever front end I'd like, but I think we might just use the native Blade just to kind of illustrate the concepts. And then it'd be the same thing if you wanted to scaffold React review later on. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a great day and enjoy. And also make sure to check out my website, alexmercedcoder.com, so you can join the dev networking Slack, check out my YouTube videos, the podcast, follow me on Twitter, all that fun stuff. So have a great day.